When I was little, if someone asked me, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? My answer was always, I want to be able to talk to every person in the world in their mother tongue. I grew up in Belgium, surrounded by languages and dialects, including French and Dutch, which I have spent years studying. And while I haven't acquired that superpower quite yet, I love that now I can talk to my Dutch family and my friends around the world in a common language. This language lets me tell my grandma that I really miss her, my friend in Spain that I hope she's feeling better, my boyfriend in Ohio to not forget the tent for a camping trip, again. Whether it's a message to my sister or a text to my boss, I wouldn't be able to say any of this as effectively without the language of emojis. I'm sure some of you are also avid emoji users because in 2015, 92% of the online population used emojis for reasons like laziness, efficiency, and enjoyment. So before you discount me as another text-crazed millennial unable to suffer through the slings and arrows of Shakespeare, I want to show you why I believe that there are some surprising real-world benefits to emojis. And while they may be a trend, they come from a long line of powerful visual communication that go all the way back to cave dwellers. The first written communication began more than 40,000 years ago in the form of cave art. The earliest Homo sapiens drew beautiful images of animals, stars, people, and other symbols. These images may have had religious or spiritual significance, been a record-keeping of their reality, or a product of pure artistic inspiration. We don't know. As these ancient people evolved, so did their forms of communication. Over the next few thousand years, some of these images were simplified from illustrative art to pictographs, which are symbols that resemble what they signify, and ideographs, which are symbols that represent an idea. Does this one look familiar? What about these? Maybe some ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs? Over time, systems of symbols continued to expand to better capture the ideas that were important to ancient people, and they eventually evolved into fully developed systems of writing in Mesopotamia and Egypt in 3200 BC and China in 1200 BC. Fast forward to 1990s Japan, and we arrive at the creation of emoji. Japanese itself is comprised of a set of very visual characters called kanji. Each kanji represents a word or phrase, and they can be combined to form more complex phrases, like this one, where the character for power and the character for rice field create the character for man. In Japanese, I means picture, and moji means character. It's very fitting that a culture whose language is a set of very visual characters that evolved directly from some of the original pictograph systems created emojis that connect people around the world through their digital messages. We all know that texting can be ineffective sometimes. If you send the text, okay, are you being dismissive, passive-aggressive, or just brief? Emojis clarify and amplify your subtext. So all you have to do is add a smiley face and your tone is perfectly clear. Let's just say that my long-distance relationship relies heavily on emojis. Of course, the argument can be made that by adopting emojis, we've exposed ourselves to unknown risks and the possibility that we've dumbed down our capacity to express ourselves. In the very near future, Apple iMessage will be able to predict and replace your words with a corresponding emoji. And I don't think anyone would argue that this particular version of Moby Dick, recently entered as the first ever emoji book in the Library of Congress, and inspiringly titled Emoji Dick, instills a lot of confidence in the value of emojis. But emojis are transforming the way that we communicate in surprisingly beneficial ways. And we're starting to realize the potential power of using emojis when words fail us. BRIS, a Swedish nonprofit children's rights organization that offers helpline services to kids in need, recently developed an emoji keyboard for victims of abuse and domestic violence. The keyboard contains images of abused children, expressions of fear and pain like this one, which means I feel like crap, and even of self-harm. These are extremely challenging emotions and experiences to describe, especially for children. In the first week that it was available in the App Store, it was downloaded tens of thousands of times and was the third most popular free iOS app in all of Sweden. People on the autism spectrum can have a hard time understanding the nuances of language and tone, like sarcasm, irony, and some of those other subtle nuances embedded in language. Maybe they could benefit from using emojis. Well, a New York artist, Genevieve Belvo, recently performed a piece called Emoji Autism Facial Recognition Therapy, which examines the difficulty in understanding the meaning of emojis. Using her emoji recognition chart, she took an individual's interpretation of an emoji and compared it with what's accepted as the traditional interpretation, and used that comparison to place that person on the autism spectrum. She then gave them tips on how to improve their emoji literacy. While her piece is hardly scientific, it opens up the possibility that emojis could be used not only as an alternate form of expression, but to make expression itself more accessible. Her piece also shows that, like facial expressions, emojis can be hard to interpret. In fact, over time, they've developed subtext and layers of meaning beyond their literal significance. Sounds like a plan is a really enthusiastic thumbs up, whereas good thing I have 1,000 pages of homework is much more sarcastic. This lady emoji was intended to mean happy to be of service or how can I help you, and is now being used to add a little bit of sass or a hair flip to comments like, I know, I'm a genius. And this purple eggplant, which used to be an innocent grocery item, is now being used in more phallic than culinary contexts. While we don't know what the impact of emojis will be on our culture and language decades from now, advertisers and marketers are recognizing that they're a valuable way to gauge sentiments and behaviors because they're replacing traditional language. Emoji, which is a company that studies sentiment analysis around the use of emojis, found that emoji-enabled advertisements have a 20-time greater click-through rate than the industry average. Companies like Fuji and Domino's have enabled tweet-to-order programs where all you have to do is tweet an emoji and your favorite food will be delivered directly to you. Companies like IHOP, Hershey, and Gatorade are updating their logos to appeal more to today's audiences. They're starting to look strikingly emoji-like. All of these idea innovators have recognized the attachment that we've formed to these emotion-depicting icons, and they're capitalizing on it. The benefits of emojis span from areas like mental health to your sex life. In the world of online dating, using emojis can be extremely helpful because you're going to be better able to express your emotions, which means that a potential date is going to be better able to connect with you in what you're saying. So for the singles out there, it could be helpful for you to brush up on your emoji vocabulary because Match.com's annual Singles in America survey found that people who used emojis tended to go on more dates, they're 2 times more likely to want to get married, and they have more sex. Oh, and the more emojis they used, the more sex they tended to have. Abundant sex aside, these are just some of the benefits of emojis that we're beginning to explore. So, what if emojis could be used in early education as a way of bridging language skill gaps? We have the tools. Let's let kids from around the world connect with each other and learn from others from different cultures and backgrounds. Maybe emojis could be used to help those with learning disabilities be better able to express themselves. Could children in pediatric hospitals use emojis to express their pain to nurses and psychologists? While we may never fully understand the meaning behind ancient cave art and pictographs, what's crystal clear is that the visual representation of feelings, ideas, and the world around us is deeply embedded in how humans have and will continue to communicate. Children today are coming of age in the most connected time in history. In the last 2 decades, we've given every person with a smartphone the superpower that my young self ambitiously dreamt of. As these kids grow up, I can't promise that you won't still see hyperbolic speech, lazy language, and eggplant innuendos. But moving forward, I have zero doubt that emojis will not only give us the opportunity to leverage an age-old system of communication, but will profoundly deepen our emotional connections. Our understanding of people from around the world will be enhanced with every smiley face. Thank you.